These are the franchises that make you play with the lights on. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 video game horror franchises. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at horror game series that have at least 2 games released and that are memorable, influential, and consistently enjoyable.
The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No.
Number 10, Alone in the Dark series. We begin with the series that laid the foundation for other entries on this list. This series was influential for the survival horror genre, being hailed as the inspiration for Silent Hill and Resident Evil, which we'll get to in a second. It follows Edward Carnby, who throughout the series develops a name for himself as a supernatural private investigator as he deals with mysteries that pertain to the metaphysical. Many of the themes and imagery found within the games take inspiration from both Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft, giving the games an old-style horror feel. Though the newer games don't quite have the same charisma as the original 4, and they also suck, the early games will always be downright iconic. Number 9, Five Nights at Freddy's series. It's hard to believe that in 2 years since its inception, this series has already spawned 6 titles made by one man. The original title started a viral trend of freaking out YouTube Let's Players, and with its newfound popularity, we've seen Freddy Fazbear and friends become household names.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
While its popularity also brought its fair share of critics, who are quick to point out the low production value and lack of free movement, it's also brought up a large following of sleuths who frequently theorize about the franchise's backstory. Sure, its RPG spin-off was a flop, but with a dedicated fanbase and a new movie deal, this series is only going to get bigger. Number 8, Outlast series. We had to bend the criteria a little bit here, since there's technically only one game out, currently with another one coming down the pipe. However, in addition to the original game, there's an add-on entitled Whistleblower, which tells a new story in Mount Massive Asylum.
I want a family, a legacy.
A first-person survival horror inspired by the found footage subgenre. The player characters here are mostly defenseless, armed with only a camera that allows them to see in the dark. They must avoid deranged asylum patients as they try to unearth the clinic's many mysteries, featuring some of horror's most disturbing enemies and intense chase scenes. This series has made a name for itself amongst the best in a relatively short amount of time, and we're excited to see where the fledgling franchise is headed.
We'll try to enjoy the anticipation.
Number 7, Left 4 Dead series. Some of the best horror video games take cues from their parallel cinematic genres, and none do so quite as well as Left 4 Dead. The games are cooperative first-person shooters that follow various survivors in the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse in various places in the United States.
You know what? The sound is broken. I should totally marry that girl.
Nothing gets the tension flowing more than the sudden barrage of zombies coming at you from all directions and you constantly having to shoot to survive. But the real fun in the game comes from its various gameplay modes, which feature some of the best co-op shooting to be found. And let's be honest, it's more fun when you're just shooting zombies together, especially that stupid witch. Number 6, Telltale's The Walking Dead series.
Behind you!
Many fans of the AMC's The Walking Dead find themselves shouting at their television since the characters are always making stupid choices. Well, Telltale Games provided those fans with an opportunity to see exactly how they would fare in a zombie apocalypse. This point-and-click adventure is loosely related to both the television series and the comics, existing in the same universe but featuring a whole new cast of characters. In this series, the story progression is based on the choices the player makes, often in split-second life-or-death situations. You'll never really feel like you made the right choice, and often there is no right choice, though there are certainly a lot of wrong ones.
And don't put it on the trigger unless you want to hurt somebody.
Okay.
If you end up causing the death of one of your friends, there's really no second chance. They're gone. But hey, no pressure though. Number 5, Clocktower Series. Likely one of the most little-known series on this list. All of these games feature the Scissor Man, a horrifying villain that stalks each protagonist using a giant pair of, well, you'll never guess. It differentiates itself from other survival horror games, at least of the time, by making the player character relatively defenseless and forcing them to hide from the dangerous antagonist while solving puzzles to progress the story. Though the series technically ended with Clocktower 3, the game's presence is still felt, as two spiritual successors, entitled Haunting Ground and Nightcry, were released in 2005 and 2016 respectively, although the latter wasn't very good. Quite possibly the most underrated yet still influential game series in the horror genre. It may be a bit dated now, but no list of horror series would be complete without it.
Thank you so much.
That's enough playing happy family.
Number 4, Dead Space series. Two parts Resident Evil 4 plus 1 part System Shock 2 gets you Dead Space, a perfect and truly unique mix of sci-fi and horror. Set 500 years in the future, the series focuses on Isaac Clarke, an initially silent protagonist who ends up smack in the middle of an attack from creatures known as the Necromorphs, reanimated and disfigured corpses of a space station's crew. What makes the gameplay in this over-the-shoulder shooter different is that the player must weaken the enemies by dismembering them, rather than just taking headshots. And be ready to lose your lunch when they manage to get you, because the developers spent a lot of time on those death animations. Number 3, Fatal Frame series. Though each entry in the Fatal Frame series is loosely connected in terms of story, the gameplay remains similar, using the camera obscura to capture various ghosts, both malicious and otherwise. After capturing a ghost, the player is able to learn about the ghost's life, adding a lot of depth to the already unique gameplay. Though it's a relatively long-running series, it has still managed to innovate gameplay, recently moving to the Wii U, allowing for the gamepad to be used as the camera, and a 3DS spin-off that used augmented reality to place the ghosts in the player's environments. The series really didn't need to get any spookier, but honestly, we're happy they did. Number 2, Silent Hill series.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
Many of the previous mentioned franchises owe a lot to this iconic survival horror series. It follows various characters in the titular, foggy town steeped in a complex mythology involving a cult and a young girl with mysterious powers. Most notably, Silent Hill 2 provides one of gaming's best explorations of psychological horror, introducing the series' most memorable and horrifying villain, Pyramid Head. Though some recent games had dipped in quality following the change in developers, fans were filled with excitement when the mysterious and terrifying PT dropped, which turned out to be a teaser for a reboot of Silent Hills. Sadly, Konami canceled that project, so the series has been left in limbo, which of course cost it the top spot on this list. Before we get to our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Number 1, Resident Evil series. It was a close call between our top 2 choices, but Resident Evil has consistently transcended a variety of gaming genres over its lengthy lifetime. Enemies range from standard zombies to other horrific monstrosities, all of them, at least at first, resulting from experiments from the evil Umbrella Corporation. Although Alone in the Dark definitely laid the groundwork, Resident Evil was the first to truly coin the term survival horror as a genre. In addition to the main series, several sub-series have sprouted from the original games, fleshing out a huge universe spanning over 20 games with no signs of slowing down.
What's the story, Andre?
Abandoned farmhouse, missing family, foul play suspected. The usual.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.